I showed up. It's day 4 of This Much Is True. Tell you what is true, I haven't really been hearing from any of you despite my appeals. Although Nigel dropped by on the comment section last night. Hi, Nigel. Nigel is known to me, a friend I met through the internet. It's amazing you do meet friends through the internet, and you get, we talk on the phone every so often. Nigel's originally a Brummie, a citizen of Birmingham. They are salt of the earth. I'm not quite with it today because I was out late last night at a Thin Lizzy memorial gig. The lead singer of the former rock band Thin Lizzy passed away about 38 years ago, give or take a day. Topics today: statins, dreams, and the paranormal. I got to keep it quick. Before I go there, this is like magnets. It's supposed to, I don't know. Do these things do any good? This cost about 50 quid. They must have had a shop with a big window on it, so they saw me coming. It's an Irish expression, as is, I think, a hand's turn. I haven't done a hand's turn today in the studio. I've sat around, listened to a podcast, because, as I said, I was out at this thing last night, and I look around, and suddenly there's 50 and 60-year-old men in, heavy metal or rock T-shirts, and I'm going, my God, I'm one of them now. I'm one of the owl lads that turn up at shows. Anyway, thanks to my good friend Stephen, who arranged all that. I don't get out much. And it was nice to be out last night and listen to all the old hits from Thin Lizzy. The Boys Are Back in Town, Jailbreak, all that kind of stuff. I don't know, some of your eyes are probably glazing over. One thing I will say, if you are looking at this from, say, Dublin or Ireland, we've had problems here on our streets in the past year or so, a number of violent incidents which have really come to the public attention, starting off with the vicious attack on an American citizen. I think it was life-changing injuries that were caused him by some thugs. And we've had stabbings of children, awful things that were unprecedented in Dublin before. And the minister, as she is, in her high heels and her blue trousers, went out and then, with the guards, of course, a phalanx of guards or police around her. Oh no, the city's perfectly safe. I thought to myself last night, I was out there in Temple Bar, which is an area notorious for kind of flare-ups because it is the epicenter of all things hen and stag parties. And there was a bit of jostling, and there was a bit of, the kind of rowdyism as you walk the streets. People in various states of inebriation or poverty, jostling, young fellas coming at you into your face. A bit of that, which you can kind of brush off, but the potential is always there for, as I said, a flare-up. And people have been assaulted down there, literally minding their own business. Just wrong place, wrong time. Not a guard, as we called him here, police, right? Copper. Not one of them in sight. Not one. In fact, I hadn't seen any on the whole journey in. I'm in the south of Dublin. I hadn't really seen any guards as such. The only time I actually came across them was they'd stopped some car just outside, up the road from me here in the leafy suburbs of Donnybrook. And I looked at the guard, the female guard. She looked about 12. You'd blow her over. I thought to myself, anything better though to be doing, really? Anyway, I digress. Let's get on to the first subject. Going on 5 years now since I had heart operation, open heart surgery. Will I get into all the details? No. It's serious when it happens. I was very lucky. That's all I'll say. And I take it a day at a time. I don't get into the longevity thing or whether you've extended or, I just say, look, it's okay for now. Regularly check up, etc. But what I find, do you not find it as well, is the conflict of information from medical sources at times. Statins, right, I was advised to take statins before I had my event, and I'd read so much negativity around them, I said no. Now, I think I was very advanced with heart disease anyway. You know, it would have been like putting a Band-Aid probably on a waterfall or a dam at that stage. But I am on them now because I can't afford to. You do what you're told once you get that shock. And I have to say, my cholesterol has come down. Cholesterol seems to be the be-all and end-all of everything. But actually, when you look into this, blood sugar is just as important. It's a whole glucose type thing and insulin resistance. But you never really hear that. You've got to kind of go out and look online. Nobody's ever mentioned in all my consultations, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful these people kept me alive. But I've never heard anyone really, refer to, hey, your blood sugars. And so actually what I do every morning is I test myself for just seeing what my reading is like. So I do the finger prick thing. And I'm generally okay. I'm 5.7, or a bad day is like today because of after a feast of crap last night, I'm about 6.7. But anyway, today I was on TikTok. Interesting platform that, because it's the scroll thing. I could do the most profound, educated video and put it up there, but if I film my cat Marvin, or his alternative known as Charlie, depends what mood I'm in, he gets more hits any day than me, and he gets them within minutes by just being Marvin. But on that anyway, where am I going with this? There was a lady, and she was on, and she seemed to be, had her chart up, and she was pointing out what she would see as negative or side effects. Now, I'm not saying it, as I said, you're all caught in the middle. We don't know which way to turn. And what she was saying essentially was the statin could be interfering with an enzyme which your heart needs. When it's getting rid of cholesterol, as a byproduct of it, the statin will interfere with, I can't remember, with some kind of C enzyme. And she was talking about perhaps it could lead to Alzheimer's, which my mother died of, actually. God rest her. Look at her little photo now. And also, now this is only me watching someone on TikTok, so don't take it. I'm literally just impartial on it, saying that there was a chance perhaps of breast cancer as well. I'm sure doctors must hate us when we come in and probably know too much than we should. They're at the coalface, and we expect from our medical profession, listen, this is going on way too long. Statins. Have you got any views on them? If so, comment below, or please use me email thing, which is thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. Love to hear from you. Feedback would be good. Don't want to start going like and subscribe, but yeah, I suppose it would help get some traction. I'm only here for the 90 days, and I'll see if I can continue it on afterwards. I will be putting this on podcast as well. And as I go along, I know I go, but I will be refining the whole podcast, the whole experience. I'm just too busy at the moment. So, although you could have fooled me this morning. Statins, your views, please. Now, next up, dreams. When I turned 57, 3 years back, I decided I was going to document all my dreams. I know, one of my daughters said to me, what could be more boring than your dreams? Especially my dreams. But I did. And I think I started in June, and I got about to April or May, and it trailed off. And they were all voiced. Every day I'd sit down and I'd just do like voice notes and recorded them. So I was going to collate them later or put them in a book, which wouldn't sell. My findings, though, were one thing that was happening was every few months I had a kind of repetitive dream. whereby I felt more so than saw. This is weird. I felt an area of Dublin. It was North County Dublin, up the coast. That's what it felt like. And I'd be walking up this kind of avenue, and it seemed to have on my right side a big tall wall, like a sea wall, and ahead there was this big, like a grand house. I can't be too descriptive on it, but I'm going to this big house. And it's kind of, the atmosphere is, it's darkish and perhaps wintry. And then it just goes. But it was the affinity I had for this area of Dublin. I just never lived in it in my life. And I used to have another one whereby there was South County Dublin. I used to work in a radio station down in Wicklow, which is down after the south of Dublin. And I'd go to an area. Now, I think this was me conjuring something up more so than a dream. But I used to feel I lived there in the 70s. And I was newly married. And I was in a bungalow type thing. It felt like a new estate, or quite a bungalow, which just reminded me of another one I had. That was one, and I used to get this thing, but that kind of, hey, listen, I was about 10 back then, so how could there be an overlap? But yet I used to feel this area, I'm trying to think of the name of it, I used to feel that as well. So the Dublin, North Dublin one felt older. It felt, I don't know, it felt 100 years or so ago. The other one was that 1970s experience. And also another overlap. I used to, or definitely had a dream that I'd be in really heavy traffic in Detroit. And I was at a toll booth thing. The traffic was really heavy and it was hot. You know, it was the era of the big plaid trousers. It was the plaid trousers. Remember those? And the collars? They're like tail fins off a jumbo jet coming down, and they were cool. And the big fishtail ties. It felt like a porn movie stuff, really, isn't it? Not that I would know about that. But, you know, those early ones with the trousers. And so I'd be in a traffic jam, and I'm going, it's like I'm coming from work or something. If you've ever seen that movie Falling Down with, what is his name? Michael Douglas. Yeah, that opening scene is really good as to the oppressive, heat and the annoyance and the frustration and the clamminess of being stuck in a massive traffic jam. Anyway, what happened to the dream thing was my beloved friend who took me out last night, Steve. Steve is really good. He worked in Microsoft for years, and he's my go-to. I was in IT myself, but Steve is really technical. And he'd fix everything here when the PCs would go down. I don't know what happened. It was an anomaly. It was Houston. We had a problem, and he wiped my whole... Pardon? He wiped my whole recording off, and yeah, he deleted it in error. Even he still scratches his head to this day because it should have held out for a bit, in the RAM end of things, but it was gone. Everything. Loads of voiceover stuff as well, luckily, which I didn't really need. But all of that went. Thanks, Steve. You're a buddy. So I can only recall it. Obviously, you probably can help out as well. This much is true at protonmail.com or the comments below. I do get the flying ones, where you're flying. I'm usually not that high up. I'm about 12 feet and I can go any direction, like a jetpack. I get that one. I'm sorry, but I'm going to, close your ears, but you probably will get this as well. The defecating one. Do you ever get that one? Where you're doing your dookie somewhere, and often it's in public, and it's the shame of defecating in public. Not always, but I do get that. And of course, the teeth falling out. Yeah, all the teeth. Now, at my age, most of them are falling out anyway. But you get that teeth thing. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say to you. So we've had statins, we've had dreams. Now, anybody who knows me knows this story, and I bore them with it. But because this is new and it's a new podcast, I have a very open mind when it comes to the paranormal. 2 really quick stories. Or just oddities or strangeness or something else beyond the realm, the veil, if you like. As a child, I grew up in a military barracks. It's still in existence. It's called Cahill Barracks these days. It was Portobello Barracks when the British occupied it. They left in 1922 and it was built in around 1815. We were in my father was an officer. And we were in the officers' quarters, as they're known. If you want to get a look at it, if you go to Michael Collins, Pathe, remember Pathe, Pathe. There's some Michael Collins was an Irish patriot, and he's the guy who kind of brought the British to their knees here. And then he subsequently was in the Irish Free State Army, the new Irish National Army, if you like. And there's footage of him. And you can see some buildings around him. Well, he's kind of standing in our old garden, roughly, thereabouts. So you can see it. There's even a little cat down at the far end, down at what I would know as the Halley's home. There was a family called Halley's. And you can see that bit jutting out behind him. And there's no sound in it. It's silent. Yeah, well, anyway, it was in that vicinity, in that house. I woke up in the 1970s as a child, 8, 10, 7, I can't remember which. But I was in this bedroom with a sister of mine. We were kids, and it was called the master bedroom. Now, this was a whole block, if you like, a big military block, and the end of it, next to our house, was the depot, where Michael Collins actually had an office. This is not a Michael Collins ghost story. Warning. The depot they were all interconnected at one stage. You could literally probably run from one end of the block to the other. But as time had went on, they were, blocked up into individual houses. So the depot still operated on our end, and right next to it was the master bedroom, which always was dark. Didn't get much sun at all. It looked right out, and across the way there was Rathmines Church. It's still there. Some of our English listeners or viewers might remember Terry Wogan. Terry Wogan, Irish broadcaster, made famous in England. He got married over there, and I made my confirmation over there. So you'd look across the field, but the 2 big windows. To cut a long story longer, I woke up one morning, and there's a lady in a long blue cloak. Very serene, non-menacing. But by God, she was there. And I was offered that room when I was 24, and I wouldn't take it. Because the hair stood up on my head. It literally did. It stood up on my head, and I gingerly went underneath the sheets and did not re-emerge for some time, for hours, I say. I got up the next day, of course, and I said to Mum and Dad, I saw this in my room, and they said, yeah, eat your breakfast. You've got to go to school now, or something like that. It was fobbed off. But I will go to my grave saying I know what I saw. As I got older, did a bit of research. There were murders in the barracks. But there was one case, I can't remember her name, Anne Wintford, W-Y-N-D, Ford, Anne Wintford Marshall, I'd say English. And she was on trial in 1874 for the poisoning of a guy called Gunnar Donaldson. Despite the evidence being loaded against her, she had bought strychnine locally in Rathmines, the poison, and this guy had been poisoned, and he was found sprawled across a bed. Now, she got away with it, and I don't know anything else about it. I can't pin it to our house, but it would make sense because it could be, I think, more so than a haunting. I think things are replayed atmospherically. Some people have a thing called stone tape theory, where like it's something tragic or traumatic has been, it's just like an explosion of energy at the time that can get embedded in stone. And then under certain, I know, don't glaze over, I'm finishing, but under certain conditions, it can replay. It can replay, like a tape. Couldn't find anything else because the records, when I did check, I mean, the military archives are there, still in the barracks, but the British stuff all went back with them in 1922. And I think it could be found in Kew Gardens, Kew, in London. It would be interesting. It would explain a lot to me. And just on the paranormal or the strange, the other thing was, oh God, I don't know, 15, 17 years back, I had a lot of friends in the States online, and I got to know this lady. She was over in the West Coast, and she was big into doing readings for people, right? And she did a very good. She explained to me that rather than a Cancer, as technically I was Gemini or something now. I don't know. That's fair enough. There's nothing major about that. I'm quite happy to be the Cancer. 26th of June. And where you're born as well is important. But she did a reading for me, and I took it as what it was, didn't think anything else about it. But months later, if not a year later, I just reconnected with her. We were having a chat about something. I said, well, can you tell any? She said, I'm really too busy to do more readings. She was generally charging. She'd given me this one for free. I'm too busy. But I'll get back to you if I can connect with your energy. Wow, right. So this lady, by the way, one of the things she used to do was paint, the Oscars, at the entrance to the Oscars, the big life-size one. She was an artist. She used to paint those gold. That was one of the things she did. But she did. She came back to me through email. Now, get this, folks. She said, Mark, I couldn't really connect too much with you, but I do have these lyrics. It seems to be a Coldplay song. And there was a line, there was a few lines, but anyway, the one I remember was, I don't want to be something of recycled revenge. A week or so before she emailed me, back then, I used to, don't anymore, do the ironing. I was there one day and I had Coldplay, whatever that is. I know it's not the Dolce Vita, but the one that sounds like that. I had that, I'm looking for it here. I had that album playing. Now, I mess around with lyrics and stuff and dabble in poetry, and it's debatable whether I have any talent in that area. Probably not. But I'd be interested in how people created songs and impressive lyrics, far-out stuff. And I love that line. And I did not discuss that with anybody else. Not even my wife, because it was just the kind of thing that Mark does. He's into lyrics. And I remember saying, what a great line. I wish I'd written that. Something about recycled revenge. She, from 7,000 miles away, picked up on that. Now, if it's a coincidence, it's some bloody coincidence. Again, another one, I'll go to my grave saying, listen, that happened. I'm sure you would have probably examples in your own life, and rightly so. You might be just keeping them to yourself because, like me, you might just feel, People are going to look funny at me for the rest of the day, but that happened. Now look, I really have some work to do. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for listening to, if you've got this far, day 4. Again, like and subscribe if you want. I do see that they are pathetic figures here, but they have increased. I won't embarrass you or me by saying, you can look at how many times these videos have been played anyway. It'll get tighter. It will get more technical probably if we need to. But it's you and feedback that I'm interested in. You know, if you want to send me a recording, an MP3, send it as an attachment there to thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. And if you can't remember it, I will put it down below. Just say hello. Talk to me. You know, if you know how to make an MP3 or make a video, and I'll convert it for you to sound. That would be beautiful. I mean, even I'll get 1 or 2 of these things. Otherwise, you know, and I know I'm kind of statistically at the moment, sorry for the expression, pissing in the wind. But as I said, I showed up. The whole thing is 90 days of this. Happy Friday. Take care, because I care.